Okay, it's a rare Sunday afternoon off. So what am I doing? Cooking. So I'm making veg head pot pie. A great way to start your new year. It's a familiar dish. It's something everybody can relate to. It's so easy, and you'll get over your fear of making pie crust. So here we go. So what I have is a small potato. I got these from a local farm, but you want to use like a new potato or a fingerling. You know, you don't want to use great big waxy potatoes. They have too much sugar. So you want to use something that's smaller and a little drier. And all I'm doing is dicing these pretty small. Now the recipe calls for you cooking these potatoes for 5 to 6 minutes. But if you dice them really small like this, you really don't need to cook them that long, maybe 2 or 3. And we're actually going to take 2 shortcuts here. They're going to go into the water, which is not salted, and there's a reason for that. So they're going to go in, but we're also going to cook our cauliflower in there too, so that we kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone and, save a little time. So again, don't worry about florets. You really just want to coarsely chop this cauliflower so that it's about the same size as the potato. Now the potato went into the water first because it's a little denser. Cauliflower is going to cook faster. So you just want to get some nice pieces. Because these are individual pot pies. This isn't a great big dish. So these are going to cook into little ramekins. So you don't need a whole lot of space. So you need small pieces. So we're going to let the cauliflower cook. And you want to keep that at high heat so it comes back to the boil. So just clean the cutting board off. And while those cook, because they have to cook the longest, everything else is pretty much just a blanch, but you want to really make sure that the potatoes aren't starchy when they go into the little ramekins. So while that happens, we're going to move to the next step. Okay, and that's easy. So you're going to take some avocado oil, and you're going to put it into glass ramekins. Now you can also do this on a pie plate, but these make nice individual ones. So you're going to go in here with a tissue, clean, I hope, and you want to make sure that you oil the rim, the top rim, even around the outside, because your crust is going to come over that, and this way it won't stick. So you oil the whole thing up around the rim, like that. Okay, and I use avocado oil because avocado oil is what I use to make my crust. And this way the flavor carries through, right? You don't want 2 different oil flavors. Okay, so now we'll make our crust. What I have here is just some whole wheat pastry flour. I'm going to add to it a pinch of nice white sea salt for flavor. And then I'm going to add to this avocado oil. This is our fat. And this is a cup of flour, so you're going to use about a 1/4 cup of oil. Now, as you make these, and as you get more adept at making crust, you'll come to the realization that a crust is better when you use more oil than water. It's more pliable. So what you're looking to create is this kind of a wet sand texture. See, we're going to need very little water to pull this together. So now we'll add just a touch of water. Because now I want the crust to gather enough for me to press this into discs and put it on top of the pie. And there you go, done. Now tell me you're afraid to make a pie crust. There it is. It took us, what, 2 seconds. Okay, so let's get ready to pull our potatoes and cauliflower out of the boiling water. And then our carrot will go in. So you can see these are not done. We don't want them done. We want them to bake in the oven. So when I get to this stage, you know, my first veggies are cooked, my crust is ready. Now I'm going to start to chop and cook my carrot. Now I preheat my oven. Take the oven to 350. And that'll preheat for about 10 minutes while we get the rest of this ready. So I'm going to quickly take a carrot, Clean off the top and the bottom. And then make it easy on yourself for dicing. Cut the carrot into manageable pieces, especially if you're using the whole thing. All right, this way you just quarter the tops and the bottoms, like that. Lay them all together. Run your knife along them and chop. Done. These go right into the boiling water. You want to use the same water as the potatoes and the cauliflower. Right? What we're doing here is building a broth. And this broth is going to become the sauce that goes over the rest of the pot pie. So you want to keep your flavor, and the reason we didn't salt this water is I want the flavors of the veggies in the broth. So now we're going to take zucchini. It's our last veggie. And the zucchini just contributes some lightness, if you will, to the pot pie. You can use broccoli florets if you like. You can use yellow squash. You can vary these veggies however you like. Rutabaga, parsnip, turnip, doesn't matter. If you don't want to use potatoes, you can throw in some turnips, especially baby turnips. They'd be so yummy. So I think that's probably enough zucchini. And the carrot we just want to blanch, so we're going to pull that out. Now you're going to have some bits left behind, but you know, they'll cook. And you can vary your vegetables how you like. You can add finely chopped cabbage to this. That's also really, really nice. A pot pie is whatever veggies you have floating around the kitchen, as long as they're fresh. So in go our zucchini. And the zucchini are really pretty much like 1, 2, 3, you pull them out. I don't want these to overcook because they're really soft and moist. So now, okay, the vegetables are all ready. So now we're going to season up this broth with some nice white sea salt. And you can add some black pepper to this if you like, or you can leave it out. It's up to you. Okay, so just some nice white sea salt. This is the flavor of the dish, so, you know, I'm seasoning. Okay, it's not just a pinch. Now we're going to add to this some whole pieces of sage. You can also use dried sage, but I really like it when I can find fresh sage. And this is going to give our broth the memory, if you will, of chicken. So that's going to flavor our broth. And while that happens, it's going to take just a minute or two. We're going to prep the tofu. Now the tofu is just prepared, packaged, baked tofu. And I want it to take on the texture of chicken. So you can see how when you slice it irregularly like this, you get this really cool, you know, look of white meat chicken with the skin. So it's a little scary actually, but as a vegan. But anyway, this is going to be our chicken. And that's going to go right on top of our veg, because then the broth is going to go on top of that. So what we're going to do now is take a little flour and a whisk. And we're going to pull these whole sage leaves out. When you use the fresh sage, your broth will flavor pretty quickly. So you can pull that out after a minute or two. So now, take a whisk, and while we're whisking, we're just going to mix in some whole wheat pastry flour. And you do it while you whisk so that it doesn't get lumpy. And you just keep whisking this and stirring it around, and it will thicken and start to get clearer. And this is going to make your sauce for your pot pie. As soon as you start to feel this, this broth get some body under your whisk, and you'll feel it. It starts to not feel runny. It just starts to feel thicker. And all the lumps disappear. You can see how that's happening now. It happens very fast because the broth is hot. You want to cook this for about a minute so it doesn't have a floury aftertaste. Okay, so now we're going to turn the broth off. And then take the broth and pour it right over our veg and tofu. Now, we just stir this to coat. And as these bake, you'll get this lovely sort of brothy, soft texture. So now, we're just going to spoon this mixture into each ramekin. Make sure everybody gets lots of veggies and tofu. This is a nice main course. I usually serve this with quinoa on the side and either a salad or some sauteed greens, depending on whether it's lunch or dinner or how hungry we are. You can serve this on its own, just, with just a salad, without anything else. And you kind of are pretty abundant with this, so you go above the surface of the ramekin. And now you kind of just press everybody in there so they're happy. Now, using wet hands, I'm going to pull out my dough. I'm going to divide the dough in half because I need 2 pieces. Right, the recipe on the website calls for 4, but we're doing this with 2. And you can either roll this out or you can do this by hand. And what you're going to do is just press this out into discs. And you got to keep your hands pretty wet, so don't feel weird about going back to the sink and doing this. And you're just going to work from the center, and it's going to crack a little bit, and you just keep playing with it until you create a disc of dough that sits on top of your pot pie. And you kind of spread it with your fingers, get it to the edge. Okay? I'll do the second one. And then these are going to bake, because they're a pretty good size, they're going to bake for about a half hour. You can also roll the crust out between parchment if you like, but I sort of like how this looks. It's got openings in it, and the filling peeks out a bit. And then you're going to take a small knife and just give me like a cross in the center so that any steam in the center of the pot pie will come out. And so there you go. Veg head pot pie. These are going to bake for about 30 minutes. The crust will get golden, the inside will get all bubbly, and we'll have one of the best Sunday lunches on the planet. Okay, it's been 30 minutes, and I don't know about you, but I am hungry. There's one beautiful pot pie. Oh gosh, look at that. And there's another one all bubbly at the edges, ready to go. Okay, it's been nice spending time with y'all, but I don't know about you, but I'm hungry. Bye.